This is the Tichwatch E3, a smartwatch made by mobvoi, it's mobvoi, a company I've never heard of, but seems to make some decent products. So anyways, the E lineup is their budget tier, this is the E3, which is their latest iteration. They sell like a Pro 3, Pro 3 GPS, Pro+++, it gets ridiculous. Smartwatches are a product line where you're kind of Apple, your Samsung, or your last place, which is kind of how smartphones work too, if you think about it. So why did I get this over the competition from someone like Apple or Samsung like I just mentioned? Well, I'm cheap. This thing was about $160 before tax. MSRP is about $200. The Galaxy Watch 4 is also about $200 for the cheapest model. But Samsung really doesn't like it if you use it with a non-Galaxy phone. It locks you out of specific heart rate sensors and a few other things, which is kind of insulting. I also didn't buy the Apple Watch because I don't use an Apple phone. I'm someone that uses a Xiaomi Poco phone, which I did a review on previously. So I don't want a device that just arbitrarily locks me out of features just because I'm not on a Samsung phone. At least Apple has the excuse of their own kind of closed ecosystem. Samsung's using Android, so what's your problem? Also, for $40 off, that's 20% cheaper when you think about it. So what do you get when you buy the cheaper watch like I did? Well, the E3 comes with the newest generation Qualcomm Wear 4100 SoC, which try and read that quickly, which is finally an upgrade over the old garbage they've been selling you for the last few years. Seriously, Qualcomm kind of just felt like they gave up, which is why the other watches were coming with Samsung chips instead. The old CPUs were, again, the only reason to buy a different watch than one of the Qualcomm. So let's talk specs. This watch has 1 GB of RAM, which seems kind of high, but is actually kind of the minimum you want on a watch nowadays, which seems kind of high. It's got 8 gigs of onboard storage, which, what do you use that for? Use it for some apps, and you can actually download your Spotify, Spotify albums or playlists, and actually have it cached directly on the watch. So if you have Bluetooth, you can go for a run without your phone. It's got GPS, NFC, so you can do contactless payments. It's got IP68 water resistance, so it's good for 1.5 meters of depth, which I don't know if that is in freedom units, and it's good for about 30 minutes in that scenario. So swimming is fine, but at the same time, I've worn this when I take a shower, and the sensor and the screen lose their minds. It thinks my heart rate is half of what it's supposed to be, and the screen tries to emergency dial anybody. It's pretty rough, so I wonder if a specific swimming mode will make a difference. It's winter, so I haven't tried it yet. It's got your blood oxygen sensor, your heart rate sensor. It's got the basics covered. The screen's pretty good as well, although a lot of reviewers will sit there and complain about the bezel. But I looked at a Samsung Watch 4 and it's not much better, so I don't know what they're complaining about. Just nitpicking, I suppose. I get about 1.5 days of battery life with tilt to wake on, so the screen will be off, and then if you tilt it, it'll turn on. You can kind of significantly increase battery life by just turning that off and only working when you touch or when you press the button, if you feel like it. But it's a watch, so I like to actually read it. It has something called Essential Mode, where it cuts down basically everything but your basic sleep tracking, your heart rate, if you press the button and as you sleep, but it gives you a colossal improvement in battery life. If it's 5%, it automatically cuts into that, and it'll go well over a day in that mode with 5% battery. So it sounds like everything's great, right? Wear OS is garbage, and this watch is not a fitness tracker first. Go ahead and buy a Garmin or a Fitbit or something of that nature if exercise is your focus. This thing can't do half of what you'd expect it to do as a regular smartwatch anyways, because Google Assistant is broken. And this isn't their fault. This is a known issue that Google just ignores and refuses to fix, which, if you've ever used a Nexus device or done anything in depth with Android, that's not uncommon. They'll mark it as, we know, and then they'll never fix it, and your device gets out of date and they just don't have to anymore. So when I say that Wear OS is broken, I mean the assistant. I can't make calls with the watch. I can receive them and say, hello, I'm in the future here. But I can't use the dialer to dial out. It acts up there. I can't say, hey, assistant. Let's say that. It won't automatically dial. It says, I can't do that for you, and then cuts off. I can't use it to set a timer. You have no idea how frustrating it was. I'm at work, and I'm like, oh, I've got the best play ever. I'm wearing gloves and everything. I can't touch anything. It's cool. Hey, Google, set a timer for 30 minutes. And it goes, I don't think I will. Then it won't let you. It's infuriating. Broken Google Assistant actually might be the reason why the Galaxy Wear 4 came with Bixby instead of Google Assistant. Reviewers roasted Samsung for it, but it might just be that Google Assistant is not functional on the new Wear OS upgrade either, which is disappointing. This is supposed to get the new Wear OS upgrade as well, because it's got the new Qualcomm chip in it, but I wouldn't buy it today based off of promises from a company that most of us have never heard of. So at the end of the day, would I recommend it? Well, if you've got a Samsung phone, I highly just recommend getting a Samsung Galaxy Watch 4, Watch 4 Classic, whatever they're calling it nowadays. I recommend that. It's part of their ecosystem. Hate it or love it or hate it. And it's a much more polished product. If you have an iPhone, just buy an Apple Watch. Why are you even watching this video? If you're a working out person, fitness freak, go buy a Fitbit or a Garmin. But if you want some generic kind of okay fitness features, and you want your notifications to pop up and just be accessible with your wrist, this is not a bad item for that. However, they do sell the E2 and the basic E, and there's some other, cheaper watches out there that if all you care about is seeing if someone just messaged you on WhatsApp and you want to ignore them, just buy one of those. It's kind of an awkward product just because the software it's running is kind of broken. It feels half-baked, which is the Google Classic. I would be curious to see how an Apple Watch compares, because I know that's going to be just tight. Everything's going to just work. But that's really it. This is my daily driver. I've been using this for about 3 months now, so I'm very familiar with it. If you have any other questions, let me know in the comments. Hit the like if you enjoyed the video, get subscribed, and we'll see you around.